The building of the Pho in gratitude to the Buddha temple in Vancouver was originally a Christian church. Many years ago, it was purchased by Uncle Gongxia and many Buddhists under the leadership of Layman Lu and converted into a Buddhist church. When I first met them, they were busy decorating the church's interior and turning it into a Buddhist hall. Before the project was completed, Layman Lu went on a trip to Thailand. When he returned, it was midnight. A lay friend drove him back to the church. Unfortunately, when he was about to return to the church, their car was hit head-on by another vehicle. Layman Lu was immediately shocked and fainted and perished shortly after being sent to the general hospital. Lu's children are all in the mainland and unable to come to the funeral. The acquainted Buddhists arranged the funeral for him. After that, the members unanimously elected Layman Gongxia Faun as the successor chairman and continued to preside over this universal Buddhist society. The internal works of the Buddhist society continued under the auspices of Uncle Gongxia. Unfortunately, another incident happened during this period. Mrs. S was from Taiwan. She didn't know that the Buddhist society was only open on weekends and Sundays. On a certain weekday, her daughter drove her to the Buddhist society. She did not expect that no one lived in the church, and there was no one answering the door. She walked to the window on the side of the front steps and looked inside, ascertaining that no one was at home before she left. Then she crossed the road to the other side to board the car. Unexpectedly, with a grating braking sound, a young man drove a car and rapidly bashed their car directly. Her head immediately hit the windshield and perished on the spot. The two successive incidents were related to the Buddhist society. People of the local Buddhist society were panicking, and some people advocated asking me to see what happened, so Uncle Gongxia called me to take a look. At that time, I had not yet gone to the Buddhist society to participate in the Dharma session. Several years ago, I accompanied a certain Dharma master to go there once, but that was a long time ago. "Peter," said Uncle, "would you like Wang to drive you to the Buddhist society to see what's wrong? Because the renovation is almost complete, we prepare to invite a Dharma master from Hong Kong to host the consecration ceremony. There must be thousands of people coming to watch and worship Buddha. There will be too many people and cars. It will not be great if some accidents happen again. Why don't you come and see what the problem is for our church first? If you find the crux of the problem and provide a solution, that would be the best. The most important thing is to keep the public safe." "Okay, Uncle," I said, "I'm very willing to serve the Buddhist society. I can see it from home. You don't need to send a car to pick me up. Let me see." I closed my eyes and prayed to Guanyin Bodhisattva and Skanda Bodhisattva. I told my uncle on the phone. "Uncle, I can see it. The problem lies in the room under the stone steps in front of the church. It was used to park the coffins of the dead in the Christian church era. Every time before the funeral was held in the church, the coffins of the dead were temporarily parked in that room. It was not until people put it in front of the altar to hold a memorial service. And then it was delivered by the funeral van to the cemetery. In this basement, a lot of ghosts gathered and they are haunting this place." Uncle said, "There is no room there." "Yes," I said, "before the church was sold, the doorway was sealed with big stones and turned into a wall. You can ask the workers to take it apart, and you'll see it. There are still some relics left in the room used in the past, including the planks used to push the coffin trolley." The Andy said, "Peter is probably right. I saw President Lu stepping down the back ladder from the upper floor several nights, and he walked towards the stone wall and disappeared." Andy is not the only one who saw Uncle Lu disappeared on the wall like this. Several other members of the church also said they had seen it. "Then what should we do now?" Uncle asked me, "Do you have any proper way to pray the Buddha for blessing the safety of thousands of Buddhist society members, and to protect this Buddhist cultivating site?" I said, "I have no choice but to give it a try." "What is the method?" Uncle asked me. "Uncle, You call someone to open the stone door. I'll take a bath and devoutly practice these few days and asked for some mantras and talismans to burn in that room for them. Okay, let's do it. Uncle said. He didn't ask me what mantra is, nor did I say it, because it is a secret mantra and cannot be revealed casually. He understood that, and I cannot disclose it in this article either. Later, both Uncle Gongxia and Uncle Luo called and said that after asking the workers to dismantle the stone wall, they found some planks as I saw. I said, tell someone to move it to incinerate. Then I asked Wang to fetch the talismans on which written the secret Sanskrit mantras to burn them in the room. From then on, the gloomy atmosphere in the room downstairs was swept away. This incident increased the trust of Gongxia and Luo in me. After the completion of the hall, before Master Zhuguang arrived at the official consecration, Gongxia and Luo advocated that I should go to the church in person and do a tantric ceremony first. Because there are no tigers in the mountains, I, a monkey, overestimate my capabilities and go to do the service. Honestly, how much do I know? How many tantric mental mantras have I learned? Comparing in front of the two venerable men, I was insignificant. In terms of the open school Dharma, how can I compare with one of the great masters, Master Zhuguang, of the Tantai sect? Asking me to perform the cleansing ceremony for the Buddha hall first, I think I'm like overstepped the mark. I was hesitant and daren't immediately agreed. I said that I had to ask the Bodhisattva before I could make a promise. That night, I bowed to Guanyin Bodhisattva and made a request. Unexpectedly, the Bodhisattva instructed, go ahead. Don't bother about trifles. This temple needs the consecration ceremony of the open school but needs even more your tantra cleansing. The consecration ceremony is to show for the worldly people, but your tantric rituals must not be made public. Go ahead and do it in accord with the Dharma. Many Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the 10 directions will come to protect the Dharma. From now on, this cultivating site should be renamed Pho in gratitude to the Buddha temple. So I went to the Buddhist society tremblingly and told Gongxia and Luo the instruction of the Bodhisattva. It's inconvenient for laymen to run a cultivation site and call it a monastery, right? Said the two old men. However, since it is a Bodhisattva's instruction, there must be a reason, and we still follow it. The Bodhisattva also instructed that there will be 3 main Buddhist temples in Vancouver within 5 years. I also told the two uncles. There were no Buddhist temples in Vancouver at that time, and the prophecies of the Bodhisattva have fulfilled one by one. The existing Pho Temple, Guanyin Temple, and Golden Buddha Temple are the 3 largest Buddhist temples in this area. 3 of them have more or less causal connections with me. Later, on the first day of the Lunar New Year, I was driven by Wang to the Buddhist Society. Many people came to worship Buddha on the first day of the New Year. I chose noon when hundreds of believers went downstairs to eat vegetarian food. I asked Wang, his wife and son, and 2 elders to ask all the people in the hall at and close the front and rear doors. No peeking, I said, this is a secret Dharma. No one is allowed to peek. All these had been done. The believers didn't know what I am going to do, and some people just wanted to take a peek. I had to ask Wang to drive them out for me. Then, I asked Gongxia to stand on my left and asked Luo to stand on my right to protect the Dharma. The 3 of us wore robes. After I offered the incense and worshipped the Buddha, I took out the Sanskrit mantras written on the talismans that I'd prepared at home, and I proceeded in front of the Buddha step by step according to the secret ritual. Then I recited the mantras and burnt the talismans. I handed over some to Gongxia and Luo to help me incinerate. The flames in the copper tripodal vessel were shining, and the ashes of the talisman rose. I felt the induction from the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and gods of the 10 directions on the scene. The Buddha statue in the hall shone brightly, and several people saw it. We bowed down and felt immense gratitude to the Buddha. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas have given blessings to this Buddhist temple, I said. When we officially consecrate it, there will be no misery happening anymore. It will be auspicious in the future. The mantras of Tantric Buddhism have incredible magical powers when inviting Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Sure enough, on the day of the official consecration, there came thousands of believers. Crowds poured in to see the hustle and bustle, and more than 1,000 cars occupied several streets. There were no accidents, no crashes, no injuries, both adults and children were safe, and no elder fainted or fell ill. The crowd worshipped the Buddha happily and watched the consecration ceremony held by Master Zhu Guang. Then they lined up to receive free vegetarian meals, and each one got a lunchbox. Finally, the temple distributed more than 3,000 vegetarian meals out. On the day of the consecration, I did not go sightseeing nor pay homages because I was afraid of hustle and bustle. Only these several people knew that I did Dharma secretly for Faun Temple. After a few years, the Faun Temple has been safer and more prosperous. More and more people go to worship the Buddha and listen to the sutras. Of course, I believe this is not only the achievement of all the volunteer staff of the church but also the quilt specially covered by the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Of course, this is by virtue of the blessing of Buddha. It has nothing to do with me. I just respectfully request for Buddha's power according to the Dharma. I am just a common man. I am so happy to see the prosperity of Buddhist temples. If everyone believes in Buddhism, brings forth the resolve for bodhisattva and compassion, this world will be wonderful.